One person has died from what? E. coli? Now, the weather is getting warm and beautiful here in the northeast United States, but it's hard to enjoy it because the Centers for Disease Control just issued a warning. The CDC says insect-borne illnesses are surging. The ticks and mosquitoes hatching right now are carrying a host of viruses from near and far, all around the world. In fact, the spread of disease is accelerating. So is the misuse of drugs. A new study in Nigeria finds an alarming increase in the abuse of codeine there. To discuss these stories and other medical news, we turn to health expert Dr. Nesochi Okeke-Igbokwe. And Dr. Igbokwe, first we understand, just developing right now, one person has died from lettuce that was tainted. Can you explain what's the latest with this?
The latest with the E. coli outbreak, it's basically being linked to lettuce in certain regions of the country, specifically the Yuma, Arizona region. So we're not really sure the exact source of contamination, but if you do ingest this lettuce, it's been tainted with a strain of E. coli that tends to be more virulent, meaning that it has a toxin associated with it that can cause problems, which can include kidney failure and other serious conditions that may ultimately lead to death. So what people really need to know are some of the symptoms to look out for if you have ingested any lettuce. And some of those symptoms to look out for are abdominal pain, vomiting, nausea, and diarrhea. If you're having diarrhea, especially with blood in it, that is a sure sign that you need to see your doctor immediately.
And that's here in the United States. If we could turn to Nigeria, the Nigeria government recently announced a ban on the sale of cough syrup.
Yes.
What is happening with cough syrup in Nigeria?
Here's the thing with cough syrup. Not many people are really aware of the fact that some cough syrups, especially the prescription cough syrups, contains codeine, which is an opioid. Now in Nigeria, the youth and young adults at this time, they're going to that as a source to get their high because it's relatively cheap and it has been more and more accessible to actually get cough syrup on the black market and in the streets. It's actually not even that expensive in Nigeria to obtain it. A bottle of cough syrup with codeine can go for about 1,000 naira, which is somewhere around $3, $3. So they take this in excess to experience the high that you can get from an opioid.
The stat that I heard that was a little disturbing is that as much as 3 million bottles of codeine cough syrup are actually being drunk every day in parts of Nigeria. What does this tell us about the epidemic happening there right now?
The epidemic has pretty much grown out of hand at this point, and we're not really sure what exactly to blame it on. Could it be the glamorization of some of these drinks that you see in pop culture? There's always in pop culture references to drinks like the purple drink or scissor in popular culture. People see this, and sometimes teens are very impressionable. They want to be a part of that, and maybe that is part of the reason why they even start to drink some of these things.
I remember that song by Lil Wayne, sipping on syrup. I mean, it's just so incredibly sad that there may or may not be a link to this. You were just in Nigeria. Are they doing a good job trying to control this situation?
Here's the thing, there's not as much regulation on these products as you would see in the U.S. In the U.S., you'd be hard-pressed to be able to obtain cough syrup with codeine with as much ease as you can get it in the black market in Nigeria. It's pretty much very accessible to the general population there. So it's a problem.
Turning to the U.S. now, Zika and Lyme disease rates are expected to surge here in the U.S. What is happening?
Zika and Lyme disease, these are vector-borne diseases. What this means is that these are diseases that are carried by insects such as ticks, fleas, mosquitoes. And usually in the warm months, as we approach the summer, that's generally when you see an upsurge and a spike in these vector-borne diseases. Why this is because the warm weather is pretty much a good environment for some of these insects, for the ticks, to migrate more up north and find more and different and newer environments where they can actually breed and cause more and more infection and illness.
If you could briefly touch on, American football and cognition, there's been so much about contact sports and neurological issues. If you could quickly tell me what's the latest in this research.
The latest research is on CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Now, this is a progressive neurodegenerative disease that we are seeing in patients who have a history of playing football and have trauma to the head, or football players, boxers, any kind of damage. We're seeing that it causes these issues with memory problems, cognition, and increased aggression and violence. So,
thank you very much. Thank you so much for your insight. Health expert, Dr. Nesochi Okeke-Igbokwe.